Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gracie, and today we're going to be talking about some real cases of vampires. Since it is October, I thought it'd be fun to do this video and just tell you guys some real cases that people have of them. So, if you don't know what a vampire is, it's basically, the main characteristic of vampires is they drink human blood. They typically drain their victims' blood using their sharp fangs, killing them and then turning their victims into vampires. They also have a light sensitivity to sunlight, and so they can't go outside or they'll basically burn. I assume most everybody knows what a vampire is though. So some of the first documented cases of vampires actually go all the way back to Greek mythology, which I thought was very intriguing. So I'm just going to read you the first story about just one of the Greek mythology stories. So there's tons, but this is one of the more popular ones, so I'll read that. The first vampire may be traced to Greek mythology and the story of a young Italian man named Ambrogio and the love of his life, Selena. The story includes many features of the mainstream vampire tales, such as passion, blood-sucking, and extreme sun sensitivity. So, according to the myth, he fell in love with Selena after visiting the legendary Opal in the temple of Apollo, the sun god. He asked him to marry him, but little did he know the jealous Apollo wanted her for his own. Apollo cursed him by causing his sun to burn whenever it was exposed to sunlight. In desperation, he turned to Hades, the god of the underworld, and then Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, for help. After he stole Artemis's silver bow to fulfill a deal made with Hades, Artemis cursed him so silver would burn his skin. She later took pity on him, though, and gave him super strength, immortality, and fangs to kill beasts to use their blood to write love poems to Selena. Eventually, the mortal Selena escaped Apollo's grasp and reunited with the immortal Ambrogio. Artemis told him he could make Selena immortal by drinking her blood, which would kill her body but make her spirit live on. Their combined blood could turn anyone who drank it into a vampire. So that's the first one, and that's just Greek mythology, which I thought was really intriguing that it goes all the way back then. There's stories, but there's a lot of stories, and I'm just going to be talking about a couple of them. So that's the first one. The other one that's really famous is called Vlad the Impaler. And Vlad Dracula was born in Transylvania, Romania. He ruled there off and on from 1456 until 1462. Some historians describe him as a just yet brutally cruel ruler who fought off the Ottoman Empire. He earned his nickname because of his favorite way to kill his enemies was to impale them on a wooden stake. According to legend, he enjoyed dining with his dying victims and dipping his beard in their blood. Whether those gory tales are true, they're not completely sure. So then the real thing that really sparked the vampire stuff is in the Middle Ages, is where they really thrived. So especially as the plague started to take over lots of towns and kill a lot of people. So it says this is what the History Channel says. So it says the disease often left behind bleeding mouth lesions on its victims, which to the uneducated was a sure sign of a vampire. It wasn't uncommon for anyone with an unfamiliar physical or emotional illness to be labeled a vampire. Many researchers have pointed to porphyria, a blood disorder that can cause severe blisters on skin that's exposed to sunlight, as a disease that may have been linked to the vampire legend. Some symptoms of it can be temporarily relieved by ingesting blood. Other diseases blamed for promoting the vampire myth include rabies, and there's several other ones. So, also, it says when a suspected vampire died during the plague and the Middle Ages, their bodies were often taken apart to search for signs of them being the vampire. In some cases, a stake was thrust through the open corpse heart to make sure they stayed dead. Other accounts describe the decapitation and burning of the corpse of suspected vampires well into the 19th century. So that's really where it took off a lot with vampires and everything like that. There's tons of stories too in the Middle Ages of vampires. And then for real vampires. There's actually real documented cases as of like now, like of 2018. So I'm just going to read a little bit about that. So it says, although modern science has silenced the vampire fears of the past, people who call themselves vampires do exist. They're normal seeming people who drink small amounts of blood in an effort to stay healthy. And so some vampires who don't ingest human blood but claim to feed off the energy of others. Many state that if they don't feed regularly, they become agitated or depressed. And so some people also think that the whole Dracula book and movies and stuff have kind of sparked that back up again. So I'm gonna read one other case about a vampire two vampires that I thought was very interesting. So their names are John and Wayne Carter. So I'm just gonna read this. And they were from New Orleans. So in terms of murder rates, New Orleans ranks amongst the highest. It has always been a notorious place for missing persons. That is, it is a place where people just disappear and no one ever knows what happened to them. The blood of the French, Spanish, Indian, African, and English all mixed together here, where the mosquito is not so picky. And it says, John and Wayne Carter were brothers. They seemed to be normal in every aspect. They both had normal labor jobs down by the river and lived in the French quarters. It was the 1930s during the Great Depression and times were hard, so a man worked all he could. One day, a girl was reported to have escaped from the Carter brothers' apartment and ran to the authorities. Her wrists were cut, not enough to cause immediate death, but enough to cause her blood to drain slowly over the next several days. The policeman ran to the Carters' third-story apartment and found 4 other people tied to chairs with their wrists sliced in the same fashion. Some had been there for many days. The story was that the brothers had abducted these people in order to drink their blood at the end of every day when they came home from work. Police also found about 14 dead bodies. The cops waited for the brothers to return, and when they did, it took 7 or 8 of them to hold down the 2 average-sized men. A few years later, when the Carter brothers were finally executed, their bodies were placed in a New Orleans vault. So, also in New Orleans, the cemeteries in there are quite, like the vaults are quite like prestigious, and a lot of times it's not just one, like it would have not just been the John and his brother Wayne in that vault. It would have been everyone in their family, so generations. And so it says, many years after the Carter's brother's death, when they were placing another Carter in the family vault, they discovered the vault was completely empty. No John or Wayne. They were gone. To this day, many sightings have occurred in the French quarters that match the description of these 2 brothers almost exactly. Years later, an owner of their apartment saw 2 figures that matched their description outside on the balcony, whispering to each other. Both figures jumped off the top of the 3rd-story balcony and took off running. The legend goes that if a vampire drinks your blood 7 nights in a row, then and only then can you become a vampire. Some of those found in the Carter brothers' apartment had been there for more than 7 days. One warped fellow named Philippe went on to become a notorious serial killer, and of course, he would do more than just kill his victims. He's believed to drink the blood of all 32 of his victims. So, that's like really scary, because there's a lot of stuff, like especially like New Orleans and Louisiana, there was a lot of stories. My name is Gracie, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.